Loach.
This is Coaching 101, a space for growth, accountability, and transformation, where insight meets action and people learn to move forward with purpose. With purpose, Miss Karen. Coaching 101. This is our second episode or third episode.
Third,
I
third,
forgot.
third episode.
Third
Yeah,
episode.
it's so exciting, Daniel, what we're doing because it's a different take on coaching. There's a lot of coaches out there. There's a lot of talk of coaching, and what sets Daniel and I apart is we bring the spirit of the Lord with us. Because
Yes.
today we want to talk about coaching with values, aligning goals with meaning, and I want to tell a couple of stories if you're okay with that.
Yes, go ahead, Miss Karen.
I want to tell us a little bit of a story about Michael Phelps, and I don't know if you remember who he
Oh,
is,
yes. Hmm.
but for 2 decades he was the number one swimmer in America and in the world. He won more Olympic gold medals than any ever,
And
not just in
yes.
swimming, but ever out of any sport. He held a record. He earned 23 gold medals and 28
Wow.
total medals, which he earned between 2004 and 2016. He also holds the record for the most gold medals in any single game, winning 8 in Beijing in 2008. But this is a man who devoted his life since he was a youngster to swim the best he could, and God blessed him with the physique needed to be a swimmer. He grew into the type of physique that would help him be an incredibly fast and effective swimmer with all kinds of different strokes. So Michael Phelps was the swimmer to watch, the swimmer to beat, the swimmer to try to keep up with for all of
Yes.
those Olympic games. But after his Olympic career was over, he went off the emotional deep end. He
Hmm.
experienced what he called post Olympic depression. He got into drugs and alcohol and even having suicidal thoughts. Now, this man achieved some of the highest goals in human
Yes.
history.
True.
And you would think, wow, that should make him happy for the rest of his life because everything he had focused on for 2 decades of his life was accomplished supremely, expertly, to the highest quality. How could he be depressed? You would think, but no. It turns out that the truth of our human design is that happiness lies on the path of a sustainable growth pursuit.
Mm,
So
true.
happiness isn't alone on the other side of achievement. Like we've been taught to believe. Oh, if only I could get this done. If only I could make this much money. If only I could, whatever this is, I'd be happy. Boy, and then we find out, wow. And you've experienced as children, the expectations of Christmas morning are actually sometimes more exciting than what happens. It can be a letdown even. It seems to be that our human hearts love the process of becoming where we can experience true joy, not the lies of if only I was, if only I could, if only I had, or I didn't. All of those lies are not where true happiness lies. Happiness is the process of continuous growth and then adapting to the changes that happen along the way. So today, Daniel and I want to talk about the values that we are trying to express in coaching that aligns the goals that we have with the meaning and purpose of our lives.
The meaning of purpose. Well, very well said, Miss Karen. Beautiful, beautiful indeed. And thank you for sharing that story. People in a world saturated with productivity hacks and generic goal setting frameworks, a profound disconnect often emerges. We achieve the targets we set, only to find the success is hollow, just like Miss Karen talking about. The great swimmer. The relentless pursuit of goals detached from our core values is like climbing a ladder with impressive span and precision, only to realize upon reaching the top, this was the leaning against the wrong wall. We check the boxes. We check the boxes, hit the matrix, and accumulate accolades, yet a quiet sense of emptiness, just like Mr. Pell. It's this all there is can linger. This is the essential flow of goals without grounding. They provide direction but not fulfillment. Coaching with values address this core human dilemma by shifting the foundational question from what do I want to achieve to the more penetrating why does this achievement matter to who I truly am I or
That's
truly
good.
am.
That's good. That's exactly the question. That's the right question. Michael Phelps, not to take away from him his 23 gold medals and incredible achievement as a swimmer, he didn't have an after swimming for Olympic goal and purpose to sustain him.
Hmm.
There is a reward release of dopamine when we are engaging in something that we're desiring to do. It's one of the chemicals in our brain that keeps us energized and motivated, and it can be addictive. They say it's addictive to get that dopamine rush.
Yes.
And I had a similar situation to Michael Phelps, although not as newsworthy or not about Olympics, but it was in my creative arts career. I was given an opportunity to be part of a great big creative arts show in Charleston, South Carolina. There were thousands of people were going to be attending this, tens of thousands of people. And we had 18 months and we had a theme about the sweet things of life. And that's an example. I had a vision that God gave me of a whole room installation made out of porcelain that was a tasted C-suite shop. And it was all candies and cakes and cookies and cupcakes, all the things that held the plates, the platforms, everything was made out of porcelain, to made to look like chocolate, and made to look like white chocolate, made to look like pink frosting, and had sprinkles, and all of it was made out of porcelain. And it took the whole 18 months to make this happen. We even had chairs that we redid and refinished them to make little cafe tables. Obviously, those weren't made out of porcelain, but it made the whole room like a real candy shop, only it was all porcelain. And just
Mhm.
like Michael Phelps, I had this incredible goal that I worked for. Now, I had been an artist for decades, so it wasn't like it was only this 18 months. I was bringing to bear all the experience, all the skills that I had been able to develop, and even got inspiration from God to do this show. And it was hugely successful. It was the most successful thing that I'd ever done. And I had help, and I can tell that story too. But I didn't have an after the show plan. Now I have a whole room of pottery and porcelain and nothing to do with it. What do I do now? And so I know a little bit of what Michael Phelps was talking about when you achieve something that you've worked really hard for, like the pinnacle of my personal artistic career. And then afterwards, I'm standing there going, now what? And that's
Mm.
part of what Daniel and I want to address today is purpose and values and finding the answer to that.
Mm. Values, people. Values. So this approach recognizes the value are not mere abstract nouns framed on an office wall. They are the living, breathing compass of our psyche. They are the deep seated principles that give our actions weight and our decision resonance. Principles like integrity, curiosity, connection, mastery, or freedom. When we operate in alignment with them, we experience coherence and energy. When we violate them, even in a service of successful goal, we experience friction burnout, and subtle sense of self betrayal. A value is less about what we accomplish and more about how we want to behave on a consistent basis, regardless of the outcome. Therefore, values aligned coaching begins not with spreadsheet of objectives, but with an archaeological dig into the client's soul, uncovering
Ooh,
these non-negotiable pillars of meaning.
yes, that that is a good one. Archaeological dig.
In
Whew.
logical dig, you need to dig it, people.
I want to share, a little bit that Michael Phelps, his life didn't end then, praise God.
Mm-hmm.
He became open about what he called his post-Olympic depression, and he got the help he needed and has now a sustainable, goal-filled life with a beautiful wife and 4 sons. He developed a charitable foundation to help others that have, wanting to
Struggling.
learn to swim.
Mm-hmm.
They promote swimming safety and water, the value of water, and they promote healthy lifestyles. So what he found after his Olympic depression, he found a life that had a goal that kept growing. It didn't end, but he got joy in the journey of continuing to give his gifts to others, to give it to others. And he's
Yeah.
ended up with true happiness because true happiness is joy in the journey. And that value, the experiences with depression and suicidal thoughts, has given him humility and the courage to help others. Instead of him being way up here as the best in the world, he could say, wow, I know
I
that's not
did it.
enough. Having
Mm-hmm.
the values of being a person that cares about others, that gives their gifts to help others, to be a contributing member of the human race, to help, to give our gifts away, is a value that we can wrap our brains around here in Coaching 101.
Beautiful, Miss Karen. Amazing. The process is transformative because it reframes ambition itself. A goal might be become a department head in 3 years. A values aligned coach will probe beneath the target. What value would achieving this allow you to express? Is it about leadership to nurture a team growth? Mastery to tackle complex challenges, or security to provide stability for your family, or influence to create a meaningful change. The same goal, when we connected to different core values, will require a radically different path and be measured by a different kind of success. Pursuing a leadership role in influence feels different than pursuing of for status. The former energizes, the latter often depletes. This discernment is the coach first and most critical intervention.
Hmm. What Michael Phelps experienced in that, and not only did it humble him, but it's actually made him a prominent voice in advocating for mental health, and sharing his personal experiences. um, it enabled him to be able to connect with others who've had similar experiences. And really, in coaching, it's that building that kind of rapport together with each other so that you can find the individual motivating core values and goals of that person to have a sustainable growth lifestyle that gives them still joy in the journey, because perfection isn't the end result at
Mm,
all. There is only
yes.
one, Jesus Christ, who's ever walked this life in perfection. It's a life of growth because growth keeps us from being stagnated and being stuck in a pit. When we see growth, it doesn't mean perfection. It means, you know what? I've learned more today, and I've built in my soul some true joy today, and I know tomorrow it'll even be better.
Mm. Definitely. So when Michael learned the clarity on core values, the entire goal setting architecture is rebuilt from the ground up. Objectives are no longer arbitrary milestone imposed by internal or external benchmarks, but become a natural expression of the client's inner world. If a core value is creativity, a goal might shift from launch a new product line to cultivate a team culture where experimentation is protected and novel ideas are celebrated. The metric of success transformed from purely financial KPI to include a qualitative measures like psychological safety and innovation flow. The goal itself become a vessel for living the value daily, making the journey inherently meaningful, not just means to potentially hollow end.
Daniel, that is not something you hear in a lot of these coaching programs. It seems like the goal is the end result. And what
Mhm.
we're seeing from the example of Michael Phelps' life is achieving goals, even very, very high goals like he did, wasn't
Yes.
enough. It wasn't something that could sustain that growth and lifestyle and value building that he needed to experience. And he did. He made the changes. He got the help he needed. And that's essentially what coaching is about, is really helping people to discover their purpose, because purpose is a lifelong adventure and journey. It's not just I achieved this goal, I achieved this goal. And there's nothing wrong with goal setting. We're not saying that. Goal
Hmm.
setting is awesome. It does give you focus, and I don't regret getting to do that show. I'm just saying that there's more to this, and this is what we're trying to establish today, that we are saying the values of finding purpose trump anything else in coaching.
Definitely. Furthermore, values based coaching introduces essential friction at the decision making crossroads. In the relentless chase for efficacy and efficiency and outcomes, we can make choices to get us the goal faster while eroding what we hold dear, sacrificing health for a deadline or cutting ethical corners like value of integrity for a profit. A coach working from this framework helps a client to install values filter before any significant decision. The question becomes, does this path honor or compromise my core values? This filter prevents the strategic or tragic but common outcome of winning the battle but losing the soul, ensuring that every step forward is also step inward toward the greater self courage.
In that architectural dig that Daniel's
Yes.
talking about, going deeper is has its own rewards, finding the deeper things. And it's I always pictured it to like peeling an onion. You get those outside habits or addictions, and the things that are so visible that maybe bring you to coaching, they're just covering up what really needs to be dealt with at the core of the person's life, and
Yes.
finding and reaching that person's purpose, and the values that make them truly human are disguised. And so the coach's goal is to get to the place where they can motivate them based on who they are, what their values are, what their desires and calling and purposes.
Yes. Purposes, people. So, in conclusion, coaching with values transcend the conventional model of coaching as a performancing service. It becomes a partnership in conscious living. It posits what the greatest success is not an impressive list of achievements, but a profound sense of inner self where one actions, goals, and daily life are in harmonious dialogue with one deepest held belief about about what is good, true, and meaningful. It aligns the trajectory of a life with true north, ensuring that destination, whenever it is reached, feels like home.
Mm, I love that. Feels like home. When you're
Feels like
operating in
home.
your true purpose and your true calling, it feels peaceful, like home.
Yes. So, people, we have a great episode for Coaching 101 today. I hope you learn from it. You learn from the story of Miss Karen, Mr. Michael Powell.
Mhm.
So, Miss Karen, would you like to plug in something?
Yes, please. Thank you so much for listening to us with Coaching 101. But also follow us on Love Letters, which is a podcast that we answer people's letters and questions about relationships and things that help us bond better with loved ones. And we also have one that's Bible Verses 101, where we share favorite verses and get to expand on what it means to operate and walk in the Word of God. So please listen to these podcasts and enjoy.
Yes, people, wherever you listen your podcast. For Coaching 101, this will be published on podcast for early second week of February. So tune in for that. Coaching 101, wherever you listen your podcast, people. So, Miss Karen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And we thank you, listeners. We bless you and we love you.
More to come, people. See you soon.